Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Well, we want to welcome everyone out there, our listening audience. So grateful you're joining us today for our monthly podcast from the National Comadres Network. And this is funded and supported by the National Compadres Network. But this is our special time so that we as women can come together and have a conversation and just be able to comadrear, right? To just share what's on our mind and to see how we're doing. My name is Deborah Luis Camarillo, and I'm the proud daughter of Esteban Leos Camarillo. And I always say, I am proud. They weren't perfect parents, but they were my parents, right? And I learned a lot of lessons through them, some good and some learning lessons from the not so good, but here we are, right? Because this is life. This is life. And comadre, here we are. I'm coming from the Bay Area, Lonely Land. My comadre, Maestra Susie, is over there in LA. Comadre, how you doing?
I'm doing great this morning, comadre. Just feeling so full. My heart is just so full with so much love, with so much happiness and joy that we're able to experience that beautiful Comadres Healing Retiro, our annual retreat last weekend. It's so beautiful to see all the mujeres in person and be able to be there together and just heal together and spend time and reflect and release and rejuvenate. Feel very rejuvenated and just so grateful to Creator and ancestors for providing all the resources that we needed to create that sacred healing space and just feeling so grateful to have been able to be there this year.
Yes. And I just, want to echo that. We had such a great time. It's our once a year annual retreat in Jolon, California. And there's just something that happens when women come together. That creative, powerful energy. And we had a sweat. We had a beautiful Maestra Laura, that joined us and was able to offer that. But it's just the beauty. When women come together, that healing essence, when offered up in that way, is so beautiful. So, yes, we were able to be there with 30 other women and have a great, great time there under the stars. I also want to mention that this past week on the 23rd, it was my mother's birthday. Comadre, she is 92 years old, Anita Figueroa Camarillo.
What a blessing.
It's a blessing. I can't imagine what she has seen in her lifetime for 92 years, Now we're talking to our watches, right? They didn't even used to have a telephone. Then they had the one on the wall, right? That you do the numbers, right? Didn't have cars. My grandfather was on a horse, and now we're in cars. Micro, like it's been probably an amazing journey for her to just be able to witness all those changes. But she is 92, and I'm so grateful to Creator and the ancestors and all those beautiful spirits that have accompanied her in helping to get to 92. She has her mind, she still drives herself to do her nails and do her hair at Penny's, take that Puerto Rican queen, what we call her, and just very grateful. So I just, publicly want to say very grateful to Creator and the ancestors for still having her around with me. Yeah, I don't know. When we get 92, comadre, I hope we're still walking.
I hope so.
But it's kind of a little bit of our conversation today to help us to really, how do we take care of ourselves?
Yeah.
And how do we really age in a good way and live in a good way, right? Because at the end of the day, we're supposed to be that beautiful reflection of love
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to first give that love to ourselves. But I'm going to turn it over to you because we have an exciting guest.
Yes, we do.
And I want you to bring her into the Círculo, introduce our guest for this podcast.
Yes, I'm so excited. We've been waiting a long time for this one.
Yes.
She is a very beautiful Mónica Barrera, born in Argentina and nationalized in the United States in 2015. She is a dedicated nurse with over 15 years of experience in alternative cardiovascular medicine.
Wow.
Throughout her career, Mónica has been a passionate advocate for health and wellness, always striving to improve the lives of all of her patients. An entrepreneur at heart, and believe me, all those that are listening, her heart is enormous. Monica's journey has been marked by innovation and a commitment to healing. In the past 4 years, she launched Synergy Light Therapy, a groundbreaking initiative that has helped hundreds of families heal from inflammatory conditions, aches and pains, and many debilitating ailments through the application of photobiomodulation. Monica's work with Synergy Light Therapy exemplifies her dedication to exploring cutting-edge medical treatments and providing effective, non-invasive solutions for her patients. Her expertise and compassionate approach continue to make a significant impact in the field of health and wellness. And Monica, before I pass the palabra to you, I just have to personally say, I am just eternally grateful for you and how you've just been that rock and that force of helping me, as I approach that triple bypass and heart replacement surgery. You were with me before, preparing and helping me to get ready for that. You were there during, and you're still there today, even after, as I continue on my healing. I thank you for that. You're such a godsend. And I also want to give acknowledgement to Wendy Morales for connecting us and being that earth angel and at such a divine time and bringing us together when it was so critical. And that was no mistake, no coincidence. And I am just so honored to be here in your presence today. I'd like to pass you the palabra now and invite you to share a little bit about yourself, your familia, your background, and maybe even a little bit about the work that you're connected to at this time. So, Mónica, welcome.
Thank you and good morning. Good morning, Susie. Good morning, Deborah. Thank you for the tears. You're beautiful. You've been beautiful since day one. I am blessed to be here with you guys and share space and comadrear a little bit and share a little bit about my story. And, if anybody can feel the heart and feel the palabras and heal from in any way possible, I invite you to open up your heart and be present today. So my name is Mónica Barrera. Like Susie said, I was born in Argentina, but my bloodline is really Italian. My parents, sisters, and I came to the States in 97. I'm a nurse who has chosen an alternative, non-conventional route. In January of 2020, I founded Synergy Light Therapy. We are LA's top kept secret. When talking about coming out of pain, reversing their chronic conditions, the doctors and scientists behind our technology spent years studying and creating protocols using different light frequencies from red light, infrared, and near infrared. It's known for its ability to break down arthritis in the body, reducing pain, inflammation, increasing cartilage, increasing collagen, reducing sciatic pain, improving, repairing meniscus tears, ligaments, improves cellular function, and generates ATP production. It's a safe, non-invasive, and FDA-approved treatment. I invite anyone listening to check out our website, our Instagram, and reach out if you have any questions at Synergy Light Therapy.
Wow. Mónica, that a lot of things there. I mean, you were saying some words that are so big, photobioiation or machination. Like these are, I have no idea what this all means. But I know that it's good because I know you helped Maestra Susie through her time. But before we go there, Mónica, tell us a little bit about you. So you said you came from Argentina and then you came over here to LA. What was that journey like? And How did you get interested in this field?
That's a big loaded question because it was lesson after lesson. But I'm going to say that the biggest lesson for me has been understanding what self-love really meant. I think you mentioned that at the beginning of this podcast. I think it resonates with everybody and what we're going through right now, but especially what I had to go through in order to find what photobiomodulation really meant. You see, with my parents being immigrants who came here seeking a better life, all I knew that was instilled by them was hard work, mastering what you do, be a good person, good will return, be of service, help those in need, never give up, push harder, work hard and play hard. And I can't stress enough. I received an abundance of unconditional love from my parents. Later in my adult life, I was introduced to the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personal. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. Then came the law of attraction, the law of giving, etc. Anyways, my self-development was being nourished and all this amazingness, yet I was forgetting to implement the law of self-love. In November of 2018, I was 14 years deep in my holistic world of cardiology, working 10 to 14-hour days together with a team. I had many roles. I was an advocate. I was a technician performing treatments. I was an educator. I had the role of physician relationships. I oversaw staff, conducted daily meetings, tons of reports, always striving to become the best multitasker and the most important of all, how to show up for my clients, for my staff, for everybody around me, how to show love and how to show support. In my head, I was too busy to put myself first. I am more than sure that a lot of you listening can probably relate to what I'm about to say. I was eating on the run or having fast food. I was too busy, too tired to go for a walk, and not to mention to go to the gym, knowing that I had been paying months after months because every year I would set the intention to go every day. But here you are years later, still paying for that gym membership. So randomly, I would have spurts of going 2 to 3 times in a row because I was tired of feeling tired or just not feeling well. So one day, 2 weeks after my 39th birthday, all that neglect caught up to me, and my life was about to change forever. It was a Friday night. I had come home from work from what felt like it was the most extreme hard week ever in the last 14 years. So I decided I needed to relax, have dinner. So after dinner, I sat down and I started reading a book silently. When all of a sudden, I began to sound drunk in my head. So I get up and I go to the bathroom to check my eyes, see if I'm having a stroke. I'm trying to see the signs. I smile to see if my smile is straight, look to see the force of my hands, my arms, my legs, check my coordination. Everything seemed to check out. My partner at the time was asleep, so I go over to wake her up, and when I speak out loud, we both notice the slur in my voice. But her being half asleep says, "You had a crazy long week. Your brain needs to rest. Put that book down, turn off the lights, and go to sleep." But the scared and in denial side of me was convincing me that she was right. So instead of sitting down to take my blood pressure, I decided I would needed to go outside and ground myself and get oxygen. So I take off my slippers and I walk onto the grass. I walk a little bit in the backyard. I move my hands around. I begin to itemize to the universe, to the moon, to our Father, Pachamama, all the things that I was grateful and thankful for, and for all the love and nourishment I was receiving from that moment. After a while, I began to feel a little bit tired. I chalked up the situation to maybe experiencing an anxiety attack, which I had never experienced before. There I was self-diagnosing myself. I lay down and I do some deep breathing exercises and finally fall asleep. When I wake up, I feel like my head was not receiving oxygen, and I kept taking deep breaths and I just didn't feel like the oxygen was getting to my brain. So I wake up my partner and I hear a slur. And I say, we need to go for a walk, a long walk. By this point, she's looking at me a little bit weird. So I go to get up off the bed and I automatically slip and fall. My legs felt like it didn't have any grip. To make a long story short, I go to the hospital. They take my blood pressure. And when I read on the monitor that it says 220 over 190, the reality automatically starts sitting in. I'm experiencing a stroke, I said. And I knew very well that it was too late to get that injection that can stop the stroke in its track. And worst of all, I knew things inside of me were going to get worse as time went on. So the medical team takes me back and runs a bunch of tests. And by the time I get taken into a room to wait for the results, there's two women crying who I didn't recognize, which happened to be my sister and my partner. Doctors come in a little bit thereafter and they confirmed that I had 3 strokes. I had 3 different strokes in 3 different sections of my brain, which was affecting my speech, my memory, and my walking and my coordination. I spoke like a robot. My long-term and short-term memory was shot, and I just couldn't move my legs. Well, at least one of them. The doctor explained that these strokes were ischemic strokes, which means the tissue in the brain didn't receive oxygen. Therefore, now the tissue is dead, describing it being the worst type of stroke someone could have. The 2 women by my bedside cried uncontrollably. I, on the other hand, was calm. Although I couldn't remember who they were or what was my name, the only thing I could remember was everything to do with the anatomy of the body, medicine, and the healing modalities that we used at work. Earlier, I shared that working for a holistic alternative cardiovascular clinic where we had a device called EECP that helped grow new arteries wherever there's blockages in the body. And it helps reverse ischemia in the heart. So when I heard the doctor at the hospital give me my diagnosis, all I heard was stroke and ischemia. And all my brain kept telling me was, no problem. We have a solution for ischemia. If the treatments at work repaired ischemia in the heart, why couldn't the treatment do it for the brain? But I couldn't verbalize it to the doctors or my family. 5 days later, I was released from the hospital, still not being able to walk, talk, or remember. I couldn't chew or swallow without choking. I felt really strange. All my motor skills were shot, including being hypersensitive to sound, to light, smell, and taste. My brain felt extremely heavy, like if I had been constantly wearing a helmet. I knew I had to get help fast. So my family booked an appointment with Dr. Jorge Moreno. He's a DO in Montebello to help me reset my circadian rhythm and give me an IV drip. And I also got a couple of treatments at the clinic where I was working. I did a total of 60 EECP treatments, which helped me with my balance, coordination, stamina. My balance, for instance, was no longer falling over. My coordination, I was able to put my one foot in front of another. I was able to coordinate my arms. My peripheral vision improved, so I was able to drive now. And my memory bank started slowly coming back, but not fully. Now I began feeling more independent, but I still had ways to go. My speech was terrible. I sounded like a robot, and my tongue felt like it was always swollen and stuck to the roof of my mouth. Also, my short-term memory and partial long-term memory was impaired, to the point if you were to meet me for the first time, I couldn't repeat your name back to you. And if I did know you from the past, I would not know who you were unless you told me a story. I would repeat the scene in my head, and maybe then I would remember. These times were tough. It was hard for me to tell the difference between made up and reality. But I kept the faith strong and put in the work. I showed up to every speech and memory therapy session. Went to physical therapy. I saw neurologists. I went to all my follow-ups. The months kept passing by and nothing would improve. And the words of my neurologist kept standing out. You only have 9 months to heal. Whatever damage you have now in the brain, from the stroke. If it doesn't heal and repair itself in 9 months, it will never repair itself. So you can only imagine how I felt. I was 7 months into my recovery, and my conversations with my higher power kept getting stronger and deeper. But at the same time, I was feeling depleted and defeated, but I was refusing to give up. So every night after going down a list of prayers, a list of gratitudes and affirmations, I would talk to everything and anything that I believed in. God, Virgencita, Santos, Buddha, the universe. I would ask questions to them, and why did you keep me on this planet? You've taken away my voice. You've taken away my memory. What is my purpose? I've sat, I've meditated, reflected, asked for forgiveness. Now, I trust in your plan, but I can't see the light. And if you're really real, show me the way, show me the light. Little did I know what light they were about to show me. A couple of weeks later, my sister and her partner's first son, her fur baby, the cutest Pomeranian, had a second stroke. I happened to be there, and my sister goes into a complete panic mode, but completely determined to get answers and get him help. We take him to 3 different specialists. All 3 specialists immediately say, you need to put him down. Your dog will no longer have a good quality of life. My sister's first baby had become immobile and non-responsive to touch. My sister, in all her emotion, tells me, no way, sister. If I have to put him down, that means I have to put you down, because you're not talking and you're not back to yourself. Now, I knew she was going through it because she was not in her right mind by saying that. So I didn't take it to heart. So instead, I grabbed my phone and I searched holistic vet. I showed her my phone and pointed at the screen for her to call this place. It said holistic vet in Culver City. It was a miracle that they took us in that day. This vet has a special gift. Tiene como un don. He's able to communicate with your pet and come up with a plan based on what the body's response needs. So to make a long story short, the doctor tells my sister that this dog is telling him that he has another purpose on this planet and that he wants the doctor to find him a solution. So the vet says, look, I don't have anything that can reverse the stroke, but I know somebody who may be able to. He goes to his office and he comes back and shows us this magazine. On this magazine was a horse that had some lights wrapped around his legs. And the doctor begins to share that these doctors are doing miracle work in repairing the horse's joints and ankles. He said, you know how many horses are put down every year because of a broken ankle? It's unbelievable. This is state-of-the-art technology that they're using, unheard of in the veterinarian world. He gives us their number and says they're based out of San Francisco area. If anyone has something for a stroke, it's got to be these people. So my sister calls them up the minute we sit in the car, and the vet answers immediately. Says, we do have protocols to reverse stroke damage for dogs. And we have actually one representative in SoCal. Her name is Brooke, and he gives her number. So we call her up, and she comes over that same day, does a treatment. At that point, he's still not able to move. There's 0 sensory reactions. So Brooke introduces herself. She puts the light therapy pads around. He wraps it around the head from ear to ear on the dog. He puts another pad around the abdomen area. The dog is completely unfazed, no reaction. Brooke begins to explain how photobiomodulation, light therapy, rejuvenates and oxygenates the cells, enhances its performance, activates the stem cells to restore organs, tissue, muscles, and ligaments. Here we are chatting, and 40 minutes into the light treatment, my sister's fur baby freaks out and, like a stiff mummy, stands up with his eyes wide open right in front of us. Like, what the hell is going on, guys? Being that this was the first sign of recovery, I stayed to see what the next treatment would do. 48 hours later, Brooke returns. She explains this is the time frame we give the stem cells to be at its highest potential of work before they start going back to sleep. So she places the light pad on my fur nephew, and 40 minutes into the lights, this time he shakes it off and walks to his water bowl to drink water. By the third session, my sister said he's 50% better. And he continues to improve. But this whole time, I had to leave. While I was there at their house while he was getting treatment, I was recording everything because I wasn't able to remember anything. I said, at some point, I'm going to need this information. At the end of the session, I get summoned by my mom to come back to LA because she needed me help. So I get home from the OC. I help my mom out. And I'm totally bummed I couldn't stay to continue to be part of my nephew's healing journey. But the universe had another plan, another purpose for me to be home with my mom. Because that next morning, my mom woke up with screaming in pain. And mind you, my mom never screamed or cried. So I knew something was wrong. She was on the floor holding her leg. So I asked her to lower her pant and show me what's going on with the leg. The leg had a bright red line 4 inches thick running from her inner groin to her ankle. I pointed at her leg and I said, blood clot, 911. Remember, I couldn't talk, so all I can say is I spoke like a robot. It probably sounded like something like that. Who knows? She looked at me and she was upset and said, you're not a doctor. You don't know. Frustrating thing, I couldn't verbalize that I knew I had an emergency life-threatening liability right in front of me, and it was my mom. And no one was around to help me. I managed to take her to the hospital. Studies confirmed that yes, indeed, it was a blood clot. The blood clot was by her ankle. And that she had to stay in the hospital for another couple of days to make sure that she was going to be stable. But my mom, at all costs, afraid of hospitals and surgeries, she signs against medical advice and tells me to take her home. They give me blood thinners and tell me that the blood clots are at risk of moving. Her holistic doctor was not going to be around for 2 more days. So you can imagine the nerves we finally get to her doctor until Monday. He evaluates her and says, there is nothing in the holistic world that can help eliminate this blood clot. Says all we can do is use Western medicine, use blood thinners to help reduce and improve the process. And then he says, it can take 9 months. And if it doesn't heal, the clot doesn't go away. It can stay there for a very long time. We get back home and my mother's pain was over 100% higher. Kept getting worse day by day. A week goes by and her pain level intensifies. Her blood pressure is elevated and she is not sleeping for more than 10 minutes at a time. She's on her wit's end. I begin to start worrying that this can possibly put her at risk for a heart attack or a stroke. So I go home that night and I lay there praying for what I want to see manifest. And something in my head tells me it has to be the lights that can help her. Why wouldn't it? So I pull up the audio and start listening to Brooke explain the science behind the light sessions. And I start connecting the dots. And to me, it totally makes sense that if you address repairing the cellular function, which in turn can reduce inflammation and pain, that this healing modality can be the answers for my mom. But although I felt extremely sure in my mind and my soul, there was a question in the back of my mind that was asking, what if the blood clot dislodges and starts moving? And we end up being in a 911 situation. So I quickly started collecting facts and doing research about photobiomodulation to take to my mom's doctor. So the next day I walk into his office and I ask him to please look at this information and give me his thoughts. He mentioned that he didn't know much about the technology being used for blood clots. but he did promise that he would research it and get with his colleagues and get back to me. Within 3 days, he calls me into his office and said him and his colleagues had took the time to look into it. Basically said that we had a 50-50 chance. Turns out, during the research, they found nothing that says the light therapy can dislodge the blood clot, and no found articles stating that it can dissolve the blood clot. So Dr. Moreno calls my mom and explains the risks. She tells him, I'm 100% open to anything that will take the pain away and that does not involve surgery. Remember, by this point, it had been already a full week that had gone by from the onset of the blood clot. The pain worsened every single day. The leg was twice the size. The 4-inch bright red line was still there from the groin all the way down to the ankle. She's not sleeping at this point. My family calls Brooke up that same day after I got back and schedules her an appointment for her to come the next day to treat my mom. Brooke places the pads on my mom, on her leg, and on her heart. So one down the leg and one across the heart. My mom, within 30 minutes, falls asleep and stays asleep for the next 3 hours. Brooke, before leaving, explains that for the next 24 to 72 hours, the healing will continue. So the next day, I go to check on my mom, and this time she looked more relaxed, smiling, and feeling a little bit chipper. I asked her to show me the leg, and that bright red line that was 4 inches from the groin down had reduced itself to 2 inches. My mind was totally blown away. My family immediately called Brooke to give her the news and feedback and ask her to come back the next day. She shows up the next day, and immediately my mom goes into a deep sleep for the next 6 hours. That night, I was excited to go home and sit in silence and talk and pray to our Creator and our entire tribe of ancestors and thank them for guiding the way, bringing over family solutions and showing us the light. I finally understood it. And in that very moment, it was a big aha moment. This whole time in my recovery, I kept thinking I was never going to be like I was pre-stroke. I was never going to be good enough to go back to work. And I kept asking for a plan for my new life and to be shown the light. And here it was. And boom, just like that, it's being shined on Sherman, my fur nephew, and it's being shined on my mom. I mean, come on, the science couldn't be any brighter. That night, I went to sleep with the biggest smile. Something upstairs was definitely brewing something up. So when I woke up the next morning, it was like a light bulb had turned on in my head, and the fire was lit underneath my feet. So if you've gotten this far in the podcast, just wait. The story is about to get better. I'm still in bed and my thoughts are racing. I'm completely smitten by the technology. The science and chemistry totally makes sense in my brain. How is it that I can visualize a cell repair connecting the dots anatomically? It was like it totally makes sense now. I was meant to have the stroke so I can quiet my brain, spend time healing me. And I had been asking for this question for a long time. This question kept going around in my head, even pre-stroke. How can I become more like the Buddha? So guess what? The Creator said, we will take away your voice. I made so many excuses why I couldn't exercise. So guess what? The Creator took away the ability for me to walk so that I can learn how to appreciate my every step, every bite I put into my body, in my mouth. So I walked every single day. I trained myself to fast 16, 20, 24 hours, and eventually I lost 80 pounds. I reversed an enlarged liver. I felt stronger every single day. Every day I felt a deeper self-love and calmness. But this particular morning was special. the Creator reminded me that they were trying to bless me this whole time. They had been sending me $100,000 check in the mail in the last 2 years. But as far as I could remember, I ripped up every check that came in. I saw the sign and I can hear the message that I needed to do something and that my path was about to change. So I get up and I go over to check on my mom. She was up and this time she was making me breakfast. She mentioned she slept all through the night. She felt a little bit better and she shows me her leg. And when I go check her leg, it's from the groin down, that bright red line that was 2 inches had totally, completely disappeared. And all that there was left was this little speck of brown, right where the knee is, right where the blood clot was located. I was floored. I was beyond me. Now I knew the Creator was keeping me from going back to work. That was the reason. I had to go through all this. I was getting prepared for the task of my life to serve at a higher level. So whichever way I could express myself and tried explaining the revelation I was experiencing to my mom, everything I was experiencing the night before, the conversations with God, the conversations with the higher team, all the spirit team, I was trying to explain it, but I don't think she was getting it because obviously it was one word at a time and everything was mind-boggling for her. So the more I talked, she began showing signs of concern that maybe I was creating an illusion, especially when I said to her that I was going to purchase a device that was so expensive so that I can finish healing her and myself. And that once we were both healed, the Creator would show me what the next step would be for me in life. I was setting my intentions and I was doing some serious manifestations, but my mom was worried of how I would achieve getting the device. And if I didn't have a job, how would I repay it? I kept telling her about this check that the universe was trying to send me for the last 2 years. And now she's looking at me like I'm crazy. And I said, all right, challenge accepted. I went back home and I tore up my house upside down looking for that check. And when I didn't find it, I reorganized my house and I went to bed. The next morning, I wake up, I get ready to go see my mom again. And as I'm walking out the door, right by the door, there's a white dresser. And right on the dresser that was cleaned out the night before was a check saying $100,000 with my name on it. It was neatly placed there for me to see. It was not there the night before. So I take it over to my mom and I show it to her. I fill out the back of the check and it's telling me how much money am I requesting. I remember what Brooke had said that I needed to invest. We pray over the check with my mom. We set intentions for the highest purpose to serve. And I send it in. And within 24 hours, I'm sitting there again having breakfast with her. And I get a phone call and says, Ms. Barrera, we would like to know which checking account would you like us to deposit this money? And within a few days, I received a device and a small crash course. Within 3 weeks, doing the protocols as instructed 3 times a week, my mom was healed, completely healed. I came back to her doctor. I took her. He couldn't believe it. I asked for an x-ray to confirm if the blood clot was still there. And sure enough, everything was healed. So once I started the protocols on my own brain, it was already past 9 months. 9 months had gone by. And remember what my neurologist had said. He pretty much had zero confidence that I would fully recover and wanted to write me off to disability, but I refused. I told my neurologist that I would be back to prove him wrong, but he thought I was crazy. Since he knew who I was from the past, the pre-stroke, he was worried I had high hopes that I would not be able to achieve. He was just focused on the statistics of the 9-month theory. Well, my friend, I told him, this extraordinary person is not going to be another statistic. So once my mom was healed and independent, I received a tailored light therapy protocol from the doctors and creators of our light therapy device. The instructions was to put the pads around my brainstem from side to side, from ear to ear, and another set of pads around my upper abdomen area, which will help improve organ function, circulation, and detox. So I asked Dr. Dan, that's the light therapy doctor, how would I know if it's working? He said, everyone's body is a little bit different. You will communicate with us and tell us what's your treatment number. I'm like, what do you mean, what's your treatment number? Yeah. Like, at what treatment did you start seeing results? Started doing treatments. I started doing it 3 days a week for an hour a day. And as the days went on, the excitement inside of me kept growing and growing. And on the 4th week, I started receiving all these downloads from the universe of how I was meant to help others heal. So that night, I couldn't wait to talk to my sister to tell her my business name, my business plan, how I was going to advocate. And as I'm sharing all of this information, once she calls me, she starts laughing. And my feelings start getting a little bit hurt. I'm being a little triggered. So I ask her, why are you laughing? And she's, at that very moment when I said that, I realized my speech was sounding a little bit different. I had been talking nonstop for 20 minutes and I hadn't noticed that I was a little bit clearer and I wasn't having to be so paused when I was speaking. That was the moment I realized I was healing. The beginning of my healing was starting. By week number 7, my voice was crisp. I didn't sound like a robot anymore. The heaviness in my head disappeared. I felt lighter. My short-term memory was back. My tongue had dropped and I felt like it actually fit in my mouth. I was ready to hit the ground running. For that next year, I set forward the promise to help bring awareness, healing to the tribe and to anyone who would give me their time. That year, Synergy Light Therapy blessed hundreds with its mystical, magical healing as it focused on building their own brand. So, in all essence, I call this La Luz del Pueblo.
Wow. You're a walking miracle, hermana.
Amazing.
What a
Amazing.
powerful story. What a miraculous journey.
For everybody. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gotta give it for all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm thinking about my own personal surgeries and trying to come out of all those different phases of my own healing. And I know there were 1,000 times when I felt like I can't do this anymore. I can't go on. I'm done. I didn't even see how I was ever going to get out of that and recover or be able to rise from the ashes. As we come to the close of our podcast, the time always goes so fast. But before we leave, I'd like to ask for any consejos that you might be able to offer others on their healing journey, especially if they are in those moments of desperation where they can't go on. They don't have the strength. They don't have the faith. They don't have the energy. They just feel like giving up. What are some of those main teachings or consejos that you can offer for those that might be in the situation that could give them that strength, like you did to me, to not give up and keep going? Maybe you can share some of those things with us before we close.
My biggest consejo, I would say, Susie, is we don't know what we don't know, right? So all we can do is start today. So I want to invite you to start practicing to become your own advocate. Pay a closer attention to your body, to how your body functions. Know your values. What's your blood pressure number? Get involved with your laboratory results. Do you know what those values are? Start writing down, start seeing, does it say low, high? What does it say next to a number? And then research it and start seeing what does that really mean, right? Because our doctors unfortunately don't have enough time to spend with us to really thoroughly go over things. So we have to become our own advocate. Be aware of what your baseline is so that when things go wrong, you know how to identify good from bad. Get involved with your health. Question your doctor. Go in with a list of questions. Know exactly what's what. If they tell you that you have high LDL levels, do you know what that means? Do you know what you're at risk for? So, and do you know what things we can do to naturally reverse these conditions, these problems that are arising that can possibly put you at risk for a heart attack or a stroke or whatever other condition? But yeah, what I would say is prevention is key. Don't be part of the statistic and just do your research because knowledge is power.
Beautiful. Well, Monica, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for sharing your story. Because as I was listening to it, and I'm sure as everyone else in our audience, our listening audience, was hearing your story, I could connect that with so many other different people that I know that maybe had a stroke, or had a condition, and we really don't know what to do. And one of the things that, and I don't know if it's because of the technology that we hear about it more, or if it in fact is happening, but it seems to me the age of strokes and heart attacks are happening at a younger and a younger age.
That's right. It is.
And I don't know if it's the stress of life or the way that people are living life or the way that we don't take care of our bodies, but I have noticed that. And so I really appreciate your story. And I want to encourage all of us that have listened to this story. We need to pay attention to our bodies.
Absolutely.
Amen.
We need to, and I've learned, some basic things just because I have to help with my mom, but in doing the blood pressure and knowing, the numbers there or the oxygen level. And I think, but just knowing and paying attention to our bodies, because sometimes I think we're so busy, we don't even realize we're tired.
Exactly.
We don't even, it's like they say, by the time you feel like you want a glass of water, you're already dehydrated.
Oh, yeah. That is true.
And so I really appreciate your story and just want to thank you for coming by and reminding all of us, because I also have heard that the body in every part has the ability to regenerate itself.
Yes.
If
Amen.
we take care of our bodies. And so I just want to encourage all of us that are out there, really take inventory. How are you living? Are you getting that fresh air? Are you taking that little walk? I know I've certainly been guilty of paying the gym and not going to the gym, And how do we incorporate those things? Because the important part is to start. Do those little things so that we can grow that. But how are you? And what are you doing to take care of that amazing body that takes you to different places, that allows you to do the things that you want to do? How are you taking care of your body? And I know, comadre, that part of our young women's curriculum is all about that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just that reminder.
If we only knew then what we know now, huh? Yeah.
The teachings is within the collective. We're constantly gaining insight from each other. So we're only stronger together.
And so with that, because we're already coming to the end of our time, but I just, again, thank you so much, Monica. And I know you're in the LA area. So for those that are in the LA area, you have a resource there. My understanding too is that they're still discovering the healing properties of this red light therapy and how it regenerates the body. And so, we'll have Monica's information, and so you can reach out there. But even if you don't know where to go, ask around. Look around where you're at to find these alternative methods and not just settle. Because I know, it's really easy to settle and to give up. But really, this is the part where it was very clear to be our own advocates or to advocate for our loved ones. I know I certainly have to do that with my mother. And so as we bring this to a close, all of our listeners, we just want to thank you. Thank you for joining us again for this month's podcast. And we want to encourage you. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Appreciate yourself. Sometimes we don't hear it enough. So we need to tell ourselves, to just, it's time to look in the mirror sometimes and just give your own self a kiss, right? In the mirror and just bless yourself. It's been you that has cared for yourself that has brought you to this place in time. And so with that, I just want to invite you for next month to please join us again as we have another conversation and to connect with your sisters that are around you. Those comadres, there's a parable, an African parable that says, walk where you're loved. Keep walking where you're loved. Walk with those sisters that are going to appreciate you and give you ánimo, to give you encouragement as you continue on your own journey. So, comadre, time goes so quick.
I know.
Thank you both for your love, for your time. Tu tiempo es oro. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank you, and I thank the Spirit team, and I thank everybody who tuned in to listen. I appreciate you, and I love you.
Igualmente.
Thank you. So with that, we sign off. Bendiciones.
Bendiciones. Adelante.
Bendiciones.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.